So this video is going to look at how to plot on this semi-log paper. I don't think that's a critical skill for you to have, but then how to use that data to find the threshold concentration, the LD50. And the other thing is we're going to look at the data table at the top. So here it says the number that died out of 50. So if 50 out of 50 died, all of them died, so that is 100%. So again, I'm using my setup. Part over total is percent over 100. How it always goes back to percent. It's so great. So 27 out of 50 is percent over 100. And what does that end up being? If you cross multiply and solve, 54%. I would encourage you to pause the video and just practice and do the rest of these so that you know, again, good practice of percent. So like 21 out of 50 is percent over 100, and that's going to be 42%. This will be 40%, 30%, 20%, 16%, and then my control is 20%. Okay, so this control, just so you know, we're not going to plot. So I'm going to kind of put a line through it. It's not wrong, but we're not going to plot that point. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to plot the points on the graph. So the first thing is when I have a concentration of 10, I have a 100% death rate. So I'm going to plot my point up there. Next, I'm going to go when I have a concentration of 5. Okay, so my concentration is 5. So these lines, again, it's 1, and I'm counting by ones, 2, 3, 4, 5. So concentration of 5, I have a 54% death rate. These axes are just normally spaced, so 54 is going to be between 50 and 60, almost in the middle, just a little bit below that. The next one, 2%, or 2, my 2, and it's going to be at 42. So I go to 2 and 42, I'm going to go like so. 1, and I'm going to go is at 40%, so I'm going to plot it there. Then 0.5, so now I'm going to be in this 0.1 to 1, so this is 0.2, I'm counting by tenths, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. Okay, so 0.5, and I'm going to go to 30% there. Next, 0.05, so 0.05 is less than 0.1, so this is 0.02, 0.03, 0.04, 0.05. So 0.05, I'm going to be at 10% here. I'm sorry, 20%, excuse me. Let me erase that. Boop, boop. All right. All right. So 0.05, again, was this 20% right there. And then I'm going to see at 0.02 was 16%, 0.02, 16%. Notice again my control. I don't worry about plotting my control. So I can now kind of make a smooth curve. I'm going to connect the dots with a smooth curve. I should never really say connect the dots, but we're going to kind of do a smooth curve there. So that is my dose response curve. Now, the first question says, what is the threshold concentration? I'm going to skip that one for a second because the critical part is this LD50. So to find the LD50, I'll use blue this time, lethal dose for 50%. So I go 50%, I come across. Whenever I hit the line, I'm going to come down, and it looks like I have about 4, and my unit, always look at my graph for my unit, is milligrams of, and it doesn't say substance, but it should be milligrams of substance per kilogram of body mass. So that is my my LD50, and I'm going to look, okay, does it make sense? So here, my death rate, 54%. Well, 50% is really close here. 42%, so it should be between these two numbers. And if I look at these two numbers, my 4 is between 5 and 2, so I have a logical answer. So that's what it means. Does it make sense in terms of the data table? And it does, because again, my 50% falls between these two values here, and so my 4 is between 5 and 2. Now we're going to go back up to question 2. Question 2 says, what is the threshold concentration? You might say, well, I have nothing here at 0, so I don't know what to do. But this is where I use the control. The control is the basis of comparison. This is a huge death rate, but I have a 20% death rate here. So 20%, and I'm going to come over to my line and then drop down. And so I have my control here is again, these were organisms that weren't exposed to anything at all. So I have no evidence about what caused the death down here or anything like that, but I'm going to set my threshold is going to be where my control hits the line here, and where the control hits the line is at 0.05 unit is milligrams per kilogram of body mass. Big idea of experiments is control is the basis of comparison. So I compare to the control to find this threshold. And the definition of threshold is the highest concentration above which I have no effects. So notice once I the line I'm starting to see go up there and starting to see organisms start to die essentially. Last one is if the control death rate was 25%. Whoo, that's really high. What would be my threshold? So I'm going to do that. I'll do that let's do that one in yellow. Hopefully that shows up okay. So 25 there, kind of even between 20 and 30. And I'm going to kind of come over here. Depending on how you look at it, it could be a little bit similar that I hit the line somewhere in here, okay? So if I drop down right on this line, I'm going to say it's about 0.2 milligrams per kilogram of body mass. You might say it's somewhere below that. You might think it's about in the middle there. So if I did there, I might say 0.015 because between about the middle of 0.1 and 0.2 is the middle of 0.1 and 0.2, excuse that, would be point. In fact, let me get my eraser again. All right, would be 0.15. Okay, so I might say it's somewhere in there, again, between 0.1 and 0.2 is this 0.15. Good review of units and scale. Fits the line there about 0.2. Don't just fudge it totally on the AP test because they get really picky sometimes that you're reading lines correctly. But this is the idea. I doubt they're going to have you plot or look at semi-log paper. But again, big idea. The big concept is that LD50, 50% read over and then drop down. And that is the LD50 is the lethal dose for 50% of the test population. And it's a great way to compare toxicity of different substances. Thanks so much.